whispers of a royal love triangle, a jealous husband, a bloody murder, right in front of a pregnant queen. In 1566, Mary, Queen of Scots' secretary, David Rizzio, was stabbed over 50 times in Holyrood Palace, while Mary herself was held at gunpoint. But what really lay behind that shocking night? Was it politics or passion? Some said Rizzio wasn't just the Queen's favourite, but her husband, Lord Darnley's too. I'm historian and author Claire Ridgway, and let me tell you a bit more about this royal scandal. It's early 1560s Scotland. Mary Stuart has returned from France, a young widow and queen, and soon a talented Italian musician enters her life. David Rizzio arrives in Scotland in the train of the Count of Moretta, who's leading an embassy. The Count finds he has no need of Rizzio, but the Italian, who's a talented singer and musician, has become friends with 3 valets in the Queen's household. As diplomat James Melville explains, they sang 3 parts and wanted a bass to sing the 4th part. He joins them. Music is close to the Queen's heart, and Rizzio impresses her instantly. When her French secretary dies in 1564, Mary appoints Rizzio in his place. This sudden rise, which 16th century historian and scholar George Buchanan puts down to his flattery of the Queen and his undermining of others, makes Rizzio rather unpopular, particularly as he has private access to the Queen. But as historian Antonia Fraser notes, Mary values loyalty, and Rizzio's has been beyond reproach. In 1565, Mary welcomes Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley, to Scotland. He is the son of Matthew Stuart, Earl of Lennox, and Lady Margaret Douglas, daughter of Margaret Tudor, the late Dowager Queen of Scotland, and her second husband, the Earl of Angus. Not only is Darnley handsome, charming, and ambitious, but like Mary, he descends from Henry VII. In fact, he's her half-first cousin. Mary is drawn to him, and it's a great dynastic match. With their Tudor and Stuart blood, Mary and Darnley could not only be King and Queen of Scotland, but of England too. After all, Elizabeth I had been made illegitimate by her father Henry VIII. Mary decides that Darnley is perfect husband material, and her beloved secretary supports the match. In fact, he and Darnley are rather close. George Buchanan describes how Rizzio did apply himself with great adulation to the young gentleman who was to be the Queen's husband, so that he came to be so familiar with him as to be admitted to his chamber and bedside, and to secret conference with him. Scottish Minister of Religion and historian David Calderwood, writing in the 17th century, goes further, writing, "He insinuated himself in the favours of Lord Darnley so far that they would lie sometimes in one bed together." Are they a bit too friendly? In her biography of Darnley's mother, Lady Margaret Douglas, Morgan Ring writes that it was rumoured that Darnley and Rizzio were lovers. And in his biography of Mary, John Guy writes that Darnley's sexual licence was suspected when he was found to be so intimate with David Rizzio. It's an idea that was brought to life in the 2018 Mary, Queen of Scots movie, which saw Mary walking in on Darnley and Rizzio in bed together on her wedding night. John Guy, whose biography the movie was based on, wrote an article for History Extra about the true story behind the film, explaining, and I quote, "Darnley was effeminate and bisexual, as was the vogue of young hedonistic courtiers in France at the time. Contemporaries had ways of making sexual excess known, and when Darnley was described as a great cock chick, the pun was intentional." He goes on to say, soon after Mary's marriage to Darnley in 1565, Rizzio is being described as Darnley's only governor and the man who works all in his councils. Rizzio was Darnley's lover for a while, and it is a historical fact that they were discovered in bed together. So Rizzio, it seems, is close to them both, and it's his closeness to the Queen which leads to him being brutally murdered. Mary marries Darnley on the 29th of July 1565, but the marriage quickly turns sour. Darnley's arrogance, drunkenness and jealousy drive Mary to despair. He is an appalling husband, showing her no respect. He is intent on being king, but Mary refuses him the crown matrimonial. The furious Darnley sets about plotting with a group of disaffected nobles. As Morgan Ring explains, they agree on Rizzio being the scapegoat, casting him in the role of a wicked papist counsellor who's misled the Queen and caused divisions between her and her husband. Rizzio and Darnley may have been close, may have shared a bed even, and Rizzio supported Darnley's marriage to the Queen. But now Darnley is happy to betray him. Anything for the crown. On the night of the 9th of March 1566, Darnley and around 80 men, including Lord Ruthven, the Earl of Morton and Lord Lindsay, make their way through the palace of Holyrood House to Mary's supper chamber. There, the pregnant Queen is enjoying a meal with Rizzio and some friends. They burst in, telling Mary that Rizzio has offended her honour. Rizzio tries to hide behind the Queen, but he's dragged away screaming. Mary is held at gunpoint, while Rizzio is hauled out of the room. He's stabbed over 50 times. The fatal blow comes from Darnley's dagger, though not his hand. Rizzio's blood stained the floorboards, stains still apparently visible at Holyrood today. Mary never forgave Darnley. When Mary later confronted Darnley about the murder, he accused her of cuckolding him with Rizzio. So what's the truth? Was it jealousy over Mary's friendship with Rizzio, or was it Darnley's own attachment to Rizzio that made him lash out? I'm not sure we'll ever know. There's no evidence of a romance between Mary and Rizzio, and there's no real proof of one between Darnley and Rizzio. But the rumours were powerful, and they reflected how Elizabethan and Scottish politics used sexuality as a political weapon. Calling a rival effeminate or unnatural was a way of destroying his credibility and masculinity in a patriarchal world. But the truth may have been simpler. Darnley resented Rizzio's influence over Mary and felt humiliated, excluded from power, and desperate to assert control. As Morgan Ring explains, Darnley would have heard the mocking accusations in England about how his mother dominated his father, and perhaps he didn't want people saying the same thing about his marriage. Less than a year later, Darnley is of course murdered, another scandal that shakes the Scottish monarchy to its core. But that's another story. Whether it was jealousy, ambition, or forbidden love, that night in 1566 shattered a marriage, destroyed reputations, and set Mary on the path to ruin. In the Tudor and Stuart courts, sex and scandal weren't just personal, they were political weapons. So what do you think? Jealousy, politics, or love? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more Tudor and Stuart scandals. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.